Welcome to Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years. I'm your host, Lara Portelli. This is the space where we strip away the polite BS, rip the gloves off and get real about what it means to thrive in our second act. Each week, I'm joined by a guest who's walking their own bodacious midlife path. We're talking menopause, divorce, reinvention, and everything in between. Buckle up, because this isn't your mother's midlife crisis. This is Midlife Unplugged. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years. I'm your host, Lara Portelli, and this afternoon we have the amazing Julie, all the way from Warragul, down the bottom end of Victoria. Is that what you were saying, Julie?
Yes, we're right down the end. Not quite the arse end like Tassie, but certainly down near the belly button.
I love it. I love it already. So, Julie, tell me about Julie and your fuck it moment, and what resonated for you in coming on here and chatting about your fuck it moment, and I think why a lot of women are in this era of fuck it.
Yeah, I was out by the pool. I was being a fabulous mom and grandma, kids are playing in the pool, and I'm sitting there, my daughter's beside me, chewing me ear as daughters do. I'm being really careful, answering back just like mothers do. And I was sitting there and I thought, I'm bored. And I've never really felt that before. And I had a really good think about it because it was a very strong feeling. And I usually pay attention to those thoughts of, when it's rattling around in your head a bit going, you're bored, you're bored, you're bored. And I thought, I've always been very excited by what I've done, my work, my art, the whole thing. So for that thought to come into me, I thought I'm going to look into that. And I did. And I really figured that I am wired, as women are, the same as every other woman, to create social harmony in our homes, to look for social cues, to always be pandering to other people's emotional needs, all those sorts of things. And I sort of sat there and I thought, oh, where's me? Oh, I've lost me. And then I was up the next day, I went out there and I thought, fuck it, Julie. And I don't usually go nude. I'm not a nude person. I'm a survivor of terrible sexual abuse for a long time. So going nude is like this line for me in the sand, so I strip off to my undies and I think, jump in the fucking water, Julie. Just jump in. Where did all this anxiety come from? You were never anxious. You were never fearful. And yet all of a sudden, here you are, sitting on the side of the pool being bored when all you have to do is jump in the fucking water. So I jumped in the water and my husband took a photo of me I jumped in, tits everywhere. I looked disgusting. But I realised I'd stopped doing things that made me feel alive. I'm not talking about huge shit. I'm not talking about bungee jumping or touring Europe and, I had to go to all this different stuff. It was the stuff like going for a walk on a really brisk, got really complacent, like comfortably complacent. So things like going for a walk on a rainy day.
Yeah.
How the cold makes you feel alive. Doing things that make you feel alive. And as women, we withdraw, and everybody else is doing those things and we're making them happen, but we're not doing them.
It's those moments of, hi, I'm alive, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
hi,
you're
I'm
also looking, you're also looking at, I've probably got less to live than I've lived.
That middle of the road. Where am I?
That middle of the road, where am I? And I thought about that. And initially you sort of think you have to do big things.
Yeah.
And that's really daunting. You go, oh, do I have to move? Do I have to change my entire lifestyle? And then I thought to myself, no, you're being a dick, Jill. You're just going overboard here. Like, really, all you want to do is feel more alive.
Yeah.
And that, for me, meant participating more. in things I wanted to participate in. So that was my fuck it moment.
Yay. And to me, Julie, you seem that you may have always been a bit of a, let's push the envelope a little bit. Let's try let's do things a little differently, because you tend to go to town, as you said, for a coffee, quite, overdressed at times in sequence.
Always.
You've been known to, get out there and shoot a pig.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yep.
you've never been afraid to push the envelope. And I think that's what you when we first started the call, you were saying women often look for social cues. And we don't need to. We just need to go internal. And as you were saying, you were lying by the pool, you were feeling bored, and you listened to that prompt. You listened to that voice and said, take your shirt off and jump in the pool in your undies. And if we could just do that a little bit more, and as this podcast is called, unplug from what we think is expected, that we could begin to live life a little bit more unconditioned, or what we're meant to do, or be the carer for everybody else. And somewhere in that journey, when we're doing all that, we get lost. We lose a piece of ourselves. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I hear my friends at the same age saying things like, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is, I was saying to you, our frontal lobes with estrogen and oxygen and those sorts of things are programmed to do that social harmony, to do all of that, and to put people first. That's what we're programmed to do. We are people pleasers, and not just pleasers, but around in the cave, it was us that sorted out the arm wrestling. It's us that at tea time, breaks up the kids' fights. It's us that, that's sort of what we do. But as we get older and our levels are changing, we don't want to do that anymore. We don't feel the drive to please everybody anymore.
Yeah.
That actually is a physical change that happens in our body that nobody actually talks about. We don't want to manage the emotional experiences of others anymore. And people will say, they'll say things like, if you get more liberal in what you're doing, if you refuse to do those things anymore, they'll call you a crone. They'll say you're being selfish. They'll say all of these things, but really you're just going, well, I think what's happening is that you're having a synapse pruning. Isn't that a beautiful word? A synapse pruning in the frontal lobe.
So where I'm heading, midlife garden, pruning. Oh, tell us a bit more about that for our audience that will listen to this episode, please, Julie. Synapses, pruning. Boom.
Yeah. So it comes from after I read some of your stuff, I was linking it into myself, as we do, because we're all egotistical bitches. I was reading the work, and I'll look over it because I want to get a name right. Dr. Luann Besendine, and she's written a book called The Female Brain, and she talks about synapse pruning. And when I heard it, I thought, that's what I'm doing. I am cutting away all of the bits that I feel that I don't want to do anymore, that I don't have the tolerance to do. I don't want to do it anymore. So at work, you might drop back so that, you disagreeing with someone is accepted more easily. So you'll soften it so that so-and-so doesn't feel embarrassed, rather than just say, I don't agree with that. We'll soften it, or we'll do those sorts of things. So I think in the frontal lobe, when we get to a certain age and we start pruning out those areas, and we should do it almost consciously, that we don't want to tolerate anymore.
Yeah.
And I link in a bit with Mel Robbins' work there with the let them.
Yeah.
So if I don't do that anymore, they won't turn up at my house. Well, then they really didn't think very fondly of you. if it was all about them and them feeling comfortable. You know, like the genuine connections you can then make. You'll lose friends over it, that's for sure. And you'll lose relationships over it, that's for sure. But I would question, once you turn around and start your pruning, whether those were of value to you anymore.
What's changed since you started your pruning, Julie? What's changed in your life? What have you noticed?
Yeah. I'm not as stressed. Much of my stress came from, and I don't know about other people, but with my interactions with my family and me taking on responsibility for my daughter's happiness, for her health. You know, she went through a dreadful time. And, you know, what was happening with this part of the family and my mother and my father and all these things. And I suddenly stepped back and went, actually, I should just let them make their own mistakes. I have to just let them theory. And then I read it in Mel Robbins' stuff, and I went, oh, there it is. Somebody wrote it down, you know, but it's just sort of like, as soon as I did that, my stress levels dropped enormously and I could think much more clearly, because I just was taking on these responsibilities and it was doing stuff all. It wasn't helping. It wasn't helping my daughter. We were only arguing.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't So I had to, I think that I'm much happier, much less stress.
Yeah, it's about, as you're saying, that dynamic that we're in each day. If you've got, you know, aging parents or children, grandchildren, some people care for their grandchildren and they live with them now. And you know that well. You've worked in the welfare industry for quite an education for a long time, and you know that stress that goes with that. And I love that you were talking about what really resonates for me, as I've been in that industry too for a long time, since 98, probably, I don't know what year you started, the changes that come with that. But it takes a special kind of person that can, you know, that, like you said, go toe to toe with a abusive father. And, you know, it just, if you can get rid of that stress out of your life and the people that cause you stress, you become much happier. And how to manage your happy kind of in a bit of a way, and what doesn't make you happy, I think.
I think so. And I think there's also things, because I'm not a huge fan of this cutting people off, unless, of course, you know, in the extreme, violence and all of those things. But I also think that there's a way we have to learn to sit with tension as well. You know, in a relationship, we have to, if we're going to make a choice about having someone in your life or not in your life, you really have to sit with the tension of that relationship to not throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. You know, because you have to look at, there's positive things that relationship may give you. You know, you then have to go, okay, well, I can sit with that bit that's discomforting for me, because this other bit is really positive.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
I just think we're frightened of tension. You know, we're into this. We're going to it's all toxic and out it all goes. And you're thinking, I'm often thinking, oh, are we giving away community for independence? You know, and I admit, you know, when you cut someone off and that tension isn't there, having that husband number two, when that tension isn't there, we sort of, it's such a relief, and we think, oh, we've made a good decision. But I think social media talks about good decisions as, you know, when you make this good decision, you will know, it'll be really clear, and you'll feel peaceful and great and fantastic and whatever. But life's really messy. You know, it's horribly messy. And more often than not, there'll be pain of what you've left behind when you make that decision. You know, like it's not clear cut freedom or being independent, or, you know, having that independence. It's not clear cut what you're
And
doing with people.
I love how you talk about the influence of social media and what you were saying about, I don't need you telling me how to look, and I'm happy to age and live my life with every wrinkle that I've got. And, you know, it made me chuckle and giggle a little that, you know, I always talk about real, REAL, versus real, REEL. And some of what, or not some, I think a big percent what we see on social media too can play havoc with our happiness. Would you agree with that?
Oh, entirely. Because they make it seem like happiness is, is something that you get and keep.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's not. It comes in these little pockets, you know, and the only thing that you can do is, I think, and it's what we used to teach kids all the time, is find out what makes you happy. What are the elements of that? What are the elements that make you happy? What do you have to be happy? And then try and surround yourself with that. And then your chance of experience pockets is greater.
You would have seen a lot of change, Julie, in the education over the years in children and happiness. And as you're saying, you're a survivor yourself of terrible, terrible violence. And I wonder, with the presence now of social media and what it does to people and how toxic, I know that word toxic is overused a little bit, but
that's true.
Yeah, it plays with people's happiness, and you would have seen a lot of that in your time in education. Would you agree with that?
A huge amount, because it's not just kids, it's adults. You know, they're watching these influencers and whatever, and with their perfect lives and their perfect kids, and the standard has got so high that we've lost the fact that people are messy.
Love that.
People are, well, they are. People are messy and we get shit wrong, you know, and we're emotive and our timing's bad, and that's people, right? But what social media is holding up to us is perfection. So I read things, you know, someone will say to me, I've cut my mother off because she's feeding my kids the wrong food when they go to her house. And I'll think, well, so fucking what? They're really loved. You know, like, forget about what food they're eating, that she's given them lollies, you know, and you didn't say to, but they're loved. Isn't that a far more value than sticking to your petty poultry rules?
Yeah, I like that.
Like, we're not, so there's this perfect thing that they're holding up that none of us can measure up to.
Yeah.
You know, and when they're not, when we're not measuring up, oh, well, then you cut them off.
Yeah. And how we as midlife, how dangerous that can be for women in midlife when we've talked about the book that you were talking about there that Dr. Luann wrote, that you're already going through your midlife change, then you've got your brain doing bazillion things as well, and then to jump on and have a little bit of time out for yourself, and social media is telling you, well, you don't measure up. This is how you're meant to size 6 workout pants, and you this and you're that and the other. No wonder people feel
on
like
all
shit
levels.
You feel
On
shit
all
about
levels.
yourself.
My house isn't tidy enough. My kids are naughty. And we're putting everyone in little boxes because of that.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just going, you know, I'm seeing I'm neurodivergent. And like, in working in the area that I did, we worked with all of those kids. But in the long run, that didn't matter. Like, they just are who they are. They're just human. So it's like an explanation for what you may be feeling, but people are defining themselves by these terms that are coming into social media. Oh, I'm an anxious person. Well, do you like trees? Like, Is that how you're defining it? No, they're things that only last not long. You know, an anxiety attack doesn't last very long. Don't define yourself by all of these things. We're changing language.
Yeah. I was talking to a psychologist recently, and she was saying that, and she wasn't downplaying it all, but an anxiety attack or feeling that level of uncomfortableness when an emotion comes up really only lasts, was it 90 seconds? She
90
said,
seconds. That's all it lasts. And all
Yeah.
the rest you've created.
Yeah, you're feeling your thoughts around it. That's what's creating that, oh, I can't deal with this. I need to go and get help.
Yeah, you're torturing yourself, mate.
Yeah, mate. Exactly.
It's your own pins you're sticking in. You know, you made them and you stuck them in.
Yeah, if we can just sit with it and as humans trust our bodies and our our brains that it will work out, and we're meant to feel this, like you were saying about before. We go back through our grandmothers and great-grandmothers and, you know, back through history, everyone had their role around the cave and the fire, didn't they? And their tribe and, you know, or back to
we
my
had community. Yep, it goes back to them. And they didn't have all this constant talking, but what they didn't have was we're making important terms into umbrella words. So, for example, I talked about anxiety before. Now, all of these things fit under anxiety, whereas really anxiety is a serious, serious illness. It's not the occasional panic attack. It's not being nervous. It's not being anxious.
Yeah.
You know, it's not any of those things, but we've made it an umbrella word. And so it's lost its meaning.
Yeah, like a lot of things have. And
Yeah,
you were saying,
we use them too often.
Yeah, and it gets watered down. And I like what we're just talking about, Julie, in the word community. You know, I can remember my grandmother sitting with her friends, or they'd sit on a hot summer's afternoon and peel the veggies or whatever, and people would sit around the kitchen table. Yeah, shell the peas. Yeah, ugh. Don't do peas, but anyway, myself. But it's gone, the community, and I think that's what we're really missing. And women really, it's there in different forms. You can go to a gym, but that really heartfelt old-fashioned community.
As I said to you, we've actually traded community for independence, and in doing so, we've become lonely.
Absolutely,
really lonely.
like
and then we're looking for that on the net, on social media. We're looking for connection, but it's not enough. We need to touch, like basic human psychology, and you would have done it too. It tells you that besides food, shelter, and being held as a baby, right, the most important thing we need is to be seen and to be heard. And social media is a poor replacement for human contact. Very, very poor. So it's not being fed. You know, they will say to you that if a monkey, our close cousins, right, doesn't have touch as young, they go insane. I believe we do too.
Yeah.
Without physical touch.
I've been talking to my mentor about this and how humans are really craving that human touch. I think it's very, very important.
I think it's really basic, and everybody's filling it up with stuff, buying stuff on Temu. I love Temu, but you know, we're buying stuff on Temu and Shein, and we got packages turning up all the time. And you know, we're like, if you put a kid somewhere and you wanted to just keep them quiet for a little while, you give them a whole heap of stuff. You know, and then they're happy with the stuff for a short period of time. Yeah. So we're buying stuff. You know, instead
of the stuff.
Stuff on the stuff. Just go and sit with your mate.
Under a tree.
Have a cuddle when you see each other, and, you know, have a yarn.
Have a Moscato.
Yeah, or several.
Depending on the day. Oh, Julie, it's been wonderful chatting to you. As we wrap up today, what's something else you'd love to add? Something, what's one thing maybe you've stopped doing or stopped apologising for in your midlife? Is there something else that you can leave us with as we wrap up today?
Oh, look, I think it comes down to keep it simple, stupid. Just keep it simple.
Back to basics, love, right?
Back to basics, love. Yep. Keep it simple. You don't need to do the big things to create change. And, change is easy. You make a decision, right? That's easy. The results take a long time.
Yeah. Ripple.
But change is just one thought today. That's all.
Yeah. The change maker the change can be tiny, and the ripple effect that we talk about.
Tiny. Go for a walk in the rain. Get outside every day. Make yourself do something you don't want to do, because that's the success of life. Doing things you don't want to do.
Absolutely. And we talk about, self-care, and people often think, oh, I've got to do this big. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a big major. It can just be, instead of watching some trash on Netflix tonight, have a bath. If people still have a bath, or have a hot chocolate.
Simple.
Yeah.
Find out, remember what it was that made you feel alive. Simple things. Buy yourself a pushy. Get out there. Make yourself just get out there at least once a day. Fresh air in your face, sun on your back.
Absolutely. Okay. And especially this time of year, I think it's important.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Slip, slop, slap,
Loving your decorations in the background there, Julie.
Oh, look, everything I do is a little overdone.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And
thanks for the invite. Loved it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look forward to having you back on sometime soon. I feel like we've got a lot more to chat about.
We can probably chat on for a fair while, I reckon, Lara.
Me too, Julie. It's been lots of fun. Okay, everybody. That's been another episode of Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years, with your host, Lara Portelli, and our beautiful guest here this afternoon, Julie. And thank you for being so real and so raw, Julie. It's been amazing.
Righto, darling.
Okay.
Catch you another time.
That's a wrap on this episode of Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years. If today's conversation lifts something up in you, hit subscribe, share it with your midlife crew, and keep the conversation going. I'm Lara Portelli. See you next week for another raw, real, and unapologetic chat.